Good morning. How are you, boys?
Kev, so did you recover from last night?
That was exciting. My goodness, that's a big one. And I was trying to think, outside of that, they needed a moment, right? This baseball team really needed a moment, and that was it. Gabe Swansen delivering. Prior to that, what was the moment at home? I don't know that they really had one outside of beating Oregon State, but there wasn't really a moment in that series that made everybody feel the way they do this morning.
What do you think it is? And some of these, like Overbeek, some of these guys are just kind of on a heater, getting it figured out at the plate. But then there's Swanson, who apparently his body clock is just set to mid to late season when he gets it going.
He's just late in games, late in season. When the pressure is on, Gabe Swanson's at his best. Even Ben McLaughlin on the radio call last night said right before the game-winning hit that Swanson was 5 of 6 with the bases loaded this season.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody better at the plate. Don't look at his batting average on the season. He's a 245 hitter this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that number is going to start to climb because we're about to turn the calendar over to May, and that is when Gabe gets on a heater, at least in the past. So you hope, if you're a Nebraska fan, that happens again. I don't know why. Maybe they just feel a little bit of pressure, maybe that they rise to the occasion. But, yeah, Overbeek's hitting the ball well. And, Carey was having a pretty good stretch there, and then he dipped off a little bit over the weekend. If he gets right back to where he was prior to the Maryland series, this lineup looks a little bit different.
Kevin, what do you make about the Will Bolt ejection of it all last night as he has to watch the game winner on TV? As he said, well, I heard the crowd first since I was on delay, so I know something cool happened.
Well, somebody get him a radio feed, right? They have the in-house radio feed that is like synced up in real time. I mean, we got to change some things in the clubhouse here. If Will's hearing it on delay, you're seeing it on delay.
So I may not, I don't know the answer to this question. Would he be able to go up to the booth and just watch it live? Is that allowed? If he's not in the dugout?
That is a good question.
I don't know why you couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
are they really following him?
What's that?
Are they really following him out to?
Well, they're making sure he doesn't pull a Bobby Valentine with the mustache and the glasses.
Yeah, where are you going? Hey, where are you going when you're leaving? I don't know if they're going to follow him out.
Well, now we need to go look up what are the technicalities of an ejection. Where must the ejected player or coach go? Because there seems to be nothing foul, in my opinion, of going up to the press box and watching, as long as you don't have like a radio or a walkie-talkie to start sending stuff down.
He should call the game with Ben next time.
That's right. Probably slip him some notes. We got to do this with the left-handed batter and one on. When Nebraska won in the Super Regional at Haymarket Park in 2005, true story. Alex Gordon was ejected from the clinching game to go to the CWS against Miami, and I remember when they were getting ready for that final out, Gordon was not in the clubhouse. He was in the concourse watching the game. He had been ejected earlier. And when they recorded the final out, he went sprinting down the stairs, hopped over the wall, and then ran onto the field so he could dogpile with his teammates. I remember seeing that. It's one of my favorite moments outside of the Gordon bomb that, hit the light pole about 30 feet up. And that was one of the most ridiculous hits I've ever seen in that ballpark. But, yeah, so his ejection – he was watching like the fans were watching in the final moments.
All right, so we know what the schedule kind of holds for Nebraska down the stretch, but you got the cluster teams between Rutgers, Northwestern, I think Michigan State, right there at all kind of 9 and 12. I don't think Minnesota runs anybody down from behind, nor does Purdue. What do you think about catching Michigan, Indiana, or Penn State? How do you think Nebraska is kind of looking at this if they're going to make this run and kind of sneak in this cluster?
Well, you got to just simply beat Minnesota and Purdue, and by beating them, just win the series. Again, don't look at the sweep. Just go 2 of 3 at minimum, and maybe you put yourself in position that, if you take Friday, Saturday, maybe you steal Sunday, and that's really going to help your cause. You just mentioned the teams that it's going to be harder to run down. One of them you mentioned, DB, was Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, guess who's left on the schedule too? And, they play Michigan next weekend.
And Michigan just has the 2 more conference wins that separate the two.
That's right. So the cluster is, by definition, a cluster because you have just those ton of teams just right there kind of jockeying for those final spots at the conference tournament. I think for Nebraska to just breathe a little easier, you have to focus on beating Minnesota and Purdue. If you happen to get Michigan, then you can maybe start to talk about jockeying for a little bit of seeding and positioning for the conference tournament. But I think it really all starts with this weekend. Nebraska can beat Minnesota. They can sweep Minnesota. I don't know if that's the goal because you never know how your pitching is going to shake out. But yeah, you just start with this weekend. If this weekend goes sour, man, you've put a lot of pressure on those final couple of Big Ten series. Minnesota's an interesting study too, guys. Record overall pretty similar to Nebraska.
Yep.
Doesn't have the RPI of Nebraska. Hasn't been challenged from a scheduling standpoint as hard as Nebraska.
They've been so bad at home.
They're 1-11 at home, which is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
I don't get
Kevin,
it.
if I gave you 2 out of 3 for the next 3 series, would you take that, or are you holding out for some sweeps?
No, I think
you
got
to take it. Yeah, you got to take it.
2 out of 3 get you where you want to go.
2 out of 3. And if you start talking about needing to get 3 out of 3 with this group, I just think it creates a little bit of unneeded pressure on them. And it can be suffocating because you've given yourself no wiggle room. But I think right now, just go and win Friday. Win Friday. And if you can put Friday in your pocket, then you're just looking at take 1 of 2 for the remainder of the series. And I think that this team could really maybe do damage, Saturday, Sunday-wise, if they can start each of these series with a win.
Kevin, I'm not even a meatloaf guy, but 2 out of 3 definitely ain't bad. Like, I just think you have to. I think
I'll take it.
And I was the guy that was talking. Well, it'd be nice to kind of get the brooms out
sweep
against Northwestern. Like, I'm to the point now, and I would have felt a little better if Dice and some of these guys would have had a little smoother outings. Timmerman's innings crept up a little bit. He threw 80 pitches over the weekend. I would feel a little bit better about a Sunday game if the arms weren't being stretched out as much as they are. But again, man, take your 2 out of 3 and keep it moving.
They just need a Will Walsh 8-inning special, right?
Wouldn't that be something?
Just starts the series.
He's capable.
And, hey, we talked about Gabe Swansen and the way that he plays late in the season. How about Will Walsh late in the season? Generally speaking, pretty good, and his experience should really help him out. And I think he's been able to run deep into games when he wants to, or when he's been able to, and he's got the experience factor. I think that his body seems to be in good shape. His arm still looks pretty live. So if they can get a deep game out of Will Walsh to try to save some of the pen for Saturday, Sunday, I just would love that setup for Nebraska. If you can get Will deep into a game, turn the ball over to Broderick, and man, he's been really good this year. He's fun to watch.
Do you think anybody at the plate saw the ball against Broderick last night?
No.
Some of those, they're acting like it was coming out of the sun or something.
Yeah, I that's just his stuff. They knew that's what they were getting when they signed him out of JUCO ball, and it took a while for fans to really get a sense of what this guy is capable of. But I think he's gotten better as the season has gone on, or maybe my appreciation of what he does on the mound has grown over the course of this season.
Speaking of which, after Saturday, by the way, well done on the punt return. I love the eyes locked and loaded, never a doubt. You mosey on over for volleyball. It's hard not to you get caught up in the moment, right? It's a circus environment. They're playing really, really well. They have a really good roster. You're thinking, oh my gosh, are we really going to have a freshman set? Like you start to allow yourself to wonder. Did you have to kind of check yourself and think, this is preseason? Or are you like, heck no, man, this is Nebraska. I think they're going to be really good. Go DBK. Like, kind of how were you managing the carnival atmosphere on Saturday?
I honestly, the atmosphere and all that stuff didn't really hit me a whole lot. I was just so intrigued by the way that Danny Busboom Kelly managed a spring exhibition match and got everyone on the court. That's not easy. It's not like they're playing Nebraska versus Nebraska, and you can watch all your players, just in a scrimmage type setting. No, they're playing they have 6 spots available on the floor.
Yep.
And Danny found a way for everyone to get on the court, which is not easy. And everybody looked good. There weren't many misconnections, and there were just little wrinkles that she started, like they snuck in that it's got Danny's fingerprints on it. Andy Jackson out of the back row. Holy cow. Like, that was so awesome. We hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
I think that maybe Danny influenced. Harper Murray's top spin jump serve might be Danny influenced. So maybe some things that the fresh eyes that she brings that says, well, why aren't we doing that? Let's do that. And then allowing some of the youngsters to get on the court, and not just like a freshman team take the court. No, they were mixing in with the Harpers and the Bergens and the Andys and the Rebeccas. So I was just overall, from a volleyball perspective, insanely impressed with the way it all worked, with everyone getting on the floor, and no matter who was on the floor, it still looked really good.
That's our guy, Kevin Sjuts, 1011 News in Lincoln. Kevin, we appreciate the time as always. And if you get any calls about becoming a free agent after your experience on Saturday, just let us know, all right?
I have 4 years of eligibility remaining, but nobody's running down the field at me. That happened so fast, though, and I'm really thankful the ball was soft. If that was a hard football, a new football, that thing
said no one ever except Tom Brady.
Yeah, Deflategate. We had Deflategate in the media challenge.
Hey, how did you go where you went in the pecking order? Did that help?
I offered to go first.
I know. I know.
The balls were coming in about the 50. I caught it on the 45 behind me, so I got a little bit. I had to be a little bit deep, play a little center field.
I tried to tell Ravi you would probably be my first pick if I had to take a media guy, because I need you to throw it to me. But shoot, man, you might be the jack of all trades.
I was gonna say, because you played quarterback, right? Had you ever caught a punt before?
I had never caught a punt before in my life.
See,
that's crazy.
Never. Outside of with my boys in the backyard. Yeah. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I guarantee those aren't like 4-6 hang time.
Yeah, I don't think those are a little different.
And there was that moment as it's coming down that I go, oh no. I just had to make sure you're in the right spot. If you're not in the right spot, you're kind of cooked.
Yeah.
But I was deep. I was deep enough that I felt like coming forward, I would be okay. If I had to take a step backwards, I am on my behind, and everybody inside the stadium's laughing at me. And that was the worst case scenario, and I just wanted to avoid worst case scenario.
In 30 years, I have not figured out the wind in Memorial Stadium. It's weird, isn't it? It's just not.
It is.
You don't even pay attention to the flags. You just have to see the trajectory. You just have to
track the ball,
track the trajectory of a ball. I can't imagine kicking in that place.
That's the thing. You look at the flags, like that's the worst thing you could do.
Yep.
The flag says it's blowing north, but you're on the field. You feel like it's going south.
It's a total misnomer.
Goofy.
Yeah.
Kevin,
for sure.
Appreciate it as always. Well done on Saturday. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.